Welcome back everyone to another video. This is the one where we do the matchups previews for the week, so positional matchups analysis, and we also do throughout the team lists and the matchups we touch on key waiver pickups. So it's a classic fantasy draft all-in-one combo video. Thanks so much for the support on the recent videos. We've got a lot of new subscribers, which I really appreciate because I put countless hours of work into all of the data, the models, and the content, so it's much appreciated. And the likes on the videos have obviously turned around and done something for us, so I really appreciate that. If you're new here, you've probably seen a video, so you get the format. It's pretty clean cut. I try to be really efficient and optimize what I'm doing so it's clean, clear info. These are on Spotify. Again, I was a bit lazy this year, frankly, with all the things I've been trying to do with the podcasting, the Spotify, but I've wired it back up, so they're there if you catch half of it on YouTube and you need to be on the go, or you know, you're in the gym or something, you can do the Spotify on a Tuesday afternoon or night as well, and Apple Podcasts, of course. You can jump on there and consume it that way if you just want to hear some of these discussion points and get some of these names into your brain on the drive home or whatever. So they are there. I'll chuck a link in the YouTube description for that as well, but you can also find that pretty much anywhere as well, just on the socials. There should be a link there to the Apple Podcast or Spotify link, or just search Upside Fantasy NRL blah blah blah. So yeah, thanks so much if you're new here or you're a continued supporter. It's all culminated in a really cool year, as well as built the platform out for next year where the content will be equally as good, if not even more unique and high quality, and not unbiased necessarily, but just clean. You know, that's how I like to do things. Keep it balanced, in my opinions. That's my draft technique, and that's what's worked for me and guys in the community who've followed me in on a lot of draft recommendations, or at least drafting style. I think the best is when you do your own thing, but I'm probably the secondary voice in your head around some of the guys you might look at, such as fading Latrell Mitchell this year has paid off for most guys that would have followed me in there and avoided that. And then a key call out on that as well is a guy like Counter Kinney, who started slow, and I think a lot of people were frustrated, but there was more to his season profile than meets the eye. Now he's, as I posted in the Discord, he's a top 5 fullback, and he has like one of the highest ceilings of fullbacks. I think tied second or something, or not tied second, but second ceiling, and his floor is quite impressive as well as tied for most games played, so he's really helped teams make finals. So let's dive into the sort of the all-in-one video here. We're going to just start with something a little different. We'll just do a team update with how we're tracking now that sort of the whips are cracking. We can kind of spend some more time with a bit of a team update before we do the matchups. In NRL Fantasy, we dropped ranks. It's really unfortunate. It was just a matter of some injuries. We had obviously Dylan Lucas, which a lot of people had. And then we had the Harry Grant thing, and just that drag. Everything was tracking well to that Dragons game. Having Hamish Stewart and not the Couchmans anymore, I did have them, cost me a lot when I traded someone like Ryan for Lucas. That looked really good for 2 weeks, and then this week, obviously, there's a huge swing there. My pods in Wishy and Nat Butcher were quite decent. Iongi I was happy with. Tomoko had a try to save his score, but he's always just been a bit of a stopgap. And yeah, just going Walsh over Teddy, not the end of the world there, and not having like Jaden Campbell, that kind of stung. But just the mids for me, like 3 guys scoring between 50 and 56 is not enough when people had Couchmans and Stefanos and stuff. So even though I thought, you know, my score was decent, it wasn't enough to compete with what most people were doing in the pointy end with, you know, their selections of their players. So yeah, like Aitken as well, underperforming in centre when people had Ero. I didn't check Karaz's score, but just things like that. Yeah, not the best week. But, you know, given how we've ascended recently and the fact that we're still top of the table in most head-to-head leagues and stuff like that, I'm happy enough. Trades are low, but yeah, we move and we'll see where we get to. I might do another video with trade plans and or my trades and my preparation for this week in all leagues. Jumping over to Supercoach Classic. Again, not perfect. Like, we had some decent outcomes, but Grant and Lucas killed us again from an injury perspective. I didn't have Campbell at the time. I've brought him in this week, just sussing him out. Again, I had to move him for different reasons. Again, the Wishy pod was really nice over here. Backline, the Nwangani Tawaze score was a killer blow. Not playing Purdue as well, like lost 70 there. And then not captaining Nico was painful, but I did loop the Cleary experience, which many did. Again, Walsh and Drinky probably underperforming as well, stings a little bit. and happy to have Sewer. But yeah, forward pack was nice. Sasagi came in, which was really clutch. Olakawatu a little bit down for him. May, Couchman. So over this side of town with Willison, things are looking better, but just the injuries comparative to other teams, and not backing Nico in, which I just really thought Manly would defend a lot better, but that's changed, so we'll talk a little bit about him today. But yeah, we lost a few ranks, I think, in this one, but not as much as we did in NRL Fantasy. So we're still in the top 4K, that's tracking decently. Trades and team, I'm like okay with. Draft-wise, guys, we are still tracking well. Have a quick look at the ladder. We're at the top now, the Community League, and we have the most points scored. Only just now, there's been some sort of big scores for some guys in other leagues, but we're still tracking decently at the top of the table there, which is awesome stuff. Tied first, but ahead on points scored marginally there. And then in another league, yeah, same deal here. Far and away ahead on points scored, and then again on points league. So in all the stuff, we're tracking decently, which is nice. But we can now do what most of you are here for and talk team lists, matchups to target, all that good stuff. Again, this is a statistical model. It's advanced, so there's some stuff going on in the background. It's not just pure defensive weakness. I do have that on the Draft Oracle and on the, where else have I got that? That's on the Draft Oracle website. We have a snippet of just pure weakness. They serve different purposes. Knowing the scoring map is also pure. It's got no statistical components. I mean, it is statistics, but it has no advanced statistical components in there. So if you do prefer that, you can find that on my content throughout the suite of things I provide, but I prefer the advanced version, which I deliver here on this video. So look, you can use a blend. I think for like certain things, I like to use a blend, but preferably with where the accuracy is for this model being sort of above 60% for the upside rankings, meaning gun, elite, and favorable. That's enough for me, given how complex NRL Fantasy and Supercoach are. Like, this model and those targets, exactly what we want. So you would have seen the accountability post again went up on Instagram. We crushed, I think, again with a lot of the waiver wire suggestions. The model performed not its best last week, and that's down to little things like Nico Hynes actually was an elite matchup, so that was good. But yeah, there was just a few names. Guys are just unable to deliver. Like Mark Nawaqanitawase is the perfect example. On paper, he should be a top scoring winger that week, and he just has not been able to do that for a myriad of reasons. Isaako has been one throughout the season that's had a lot of opportunity to go large after establishing himself in those opening 10 rounds and just hasn't really done that. You'll also note on Instagram, guys, if you're there, I had done a really cool post today on the difference in meaningful scores between rounds 1 and 10 and then like 13 and 21 kind of thing, or 1 and 13, 13 and 21. So as the 6 agains have come down, you remember the 6 again audit video? Well, I did a post just talking about the like who can we rely on to score meaningfully of a 70 plus, and at the start of the year it was all halfbacks type thing, and then in the recent weeks it's been fullbacks have been the most reliable meaningful scorer. A lot of fullbacks scoring 70 plus. That's like your Dufties, your Suafa'alongos, your Keanu Kinis, Tedesco, even Reece Walsh had 100 last week. So they've been a really good beneficiary of the new not the new, but just the relaxing of the 6 again infringement, and we've seen front rowers and locks. So just check out Instagram. It's a really cool post. I've been doing a lot more of those deep dive niche stats carousels for you guys, just to kind of keep things interesting. So yeah, let's do this. So Dufty is back again at fullback. He looked again a bit better, so his scores have been quite significant at fullback. I wasn't gonna pull them up, but I kind of want to. But I think I can quickly search him, because a lot of people would have seen him. I think it's like third week in a row he's had the gun fullback matchup, and like in 80-minute fullback games, we're talking like 84, 109, 57, 89, 125, then the flop game last week, 38, and then 71. So the pedigree's there for him, how he's going. He's had some short minute games which have tanked his average, so it's not a good way to look at it. I would clean the data, but I don't want to derail the video just to go in there and clean it for this, but you can do that on the Draft Oracle if your users. Go have a look at Dufty when you drop out his low minute games. His average is pretty crazy, and because he has a defensive opportunity, He's back in the gun matchup, and whether he can deliver, well, it remains to be seen, because he didn't 2 weeks ago, that's for sure, against Canterbury. I mean, against the Raiders, who have turned their sort of season around. And this is the thing, the model just sees the data that's happened and goes, oh yeah, the Raiders can't defend fullbacks. Fullbacks are just carving the Raiders up. And then they just come out 1 week and decide to be a completely different team. And the model doesn't know that. And then it's trying to update for that. And it's trying to build in the way the Raiders are playing more currently. And that's a topic for another discussion around how much currency matters and stuff. But that's sort of what's going on there. Anyway, Dufty's not playing them this week. He's playing the Sharks. So you're going to well, the Sharks are awesome. Yeah, well, potentially the combination of what they've been defending to fullbacks and how Dufty's scoring means that he's number one. And I should just mention again, Tedesco, Kinney and Walsh, they're not so far away from Dufty, guys. Like, it's not such a discrepancy. So you could easily say like Walsh is more of a target than Dufty as a trade-in this week, for example. Like the segregation is purely for fun, the number one as opposed to number three. I spoke last week about this again. So yeah, just check that video out if you want a little more discussion on that. Tommy Talau is just really riding the Tupou Billy Smith experience out there on the left. He does have the opportunity for sure, but I'm not going to overly rely on Tommy Talau. He's probably going to tank the model here from an accuracy perspective by just benefiting from what that Roosters left edge is doing. In the opposite fashion, Herbie Farnworth is so good that he's nearly always the left centre gun matchup, as I'm okay with that. I could tweak my model to kind of not do that, but that doesn't make sense to me. I want to see the players that deserve to be here, like Herbie, Sasagi, Isaako, Hynes. I'm happy with them being gun matchups if they have the opportunity to. Many will note Hynes is not really featured in the halves gun matchups too often this year, you know, even though he's had some crazy scores. There's been other names there, and that's like why Dufty is above Tedesco and Ponga this week. The model just reports, but someone like Herbie just keeps coming through, and that's really good. It's what I want it to do when there's a good player. I want them to usurp a mediocre player because I want reliability to be a component of the reporting here. So Sasagi, Isaako, Hynes, Haas, I mentioned. Blayke Brailey, he's in really interesting one. He could absolutely carve the bunnies. He's a guy that is a hot button name this week with Harry Grant going down. A lot of people who have trades in the bank in all formats are going to pivot across from Grant to Brailey. And if you were going to do it, it has to be now in this matchup, in my opinion. He hasn't populated there for a while, so I think that's a pretty good sign. Stewart has been brilliant, and I'm okay with him there against the Dolphins. There's obviously an opportunity for him. Francis Manuleleua, he is benefiting from his own ability recently, as well as what Dylan Lucas has laid as a platform there as a back rower in the Knights. Actually, he's on the right. I've listed him on the right, so my apologies. That's just pure Manuleleua and opportunity there. So that's cool for him. I think he's definitely a waiver pickup. I'm happy to waiver for him. I wouldn't go all out, probably like a top one, just depending on your team need. If you lost Lucas and your 2RFs are dire, for sure you can go for him. If you're not as desperate, like you haven't lost Lucas and he's more going to be a bench rotational guy, then that waiver priority becomes a little bit lower. Ryan Couchman, the king of the locks at the moment, keeps doing his thing. He's usurped Alex Twal as the lock gun and just keeps hammering him in. So yeah, happy days if you're a Couchman owner. I was at one point and traded him, and I don't regret it, but yeah, it's frustrating to see that he's so good. When he didn't get dual FRF in Supercoach, I was happy to move him on. Also moved him on in NRL Fantasy for Lucas, which was really good at the time. And yeah, it hasn't, because the minutes were shifting. Like his minutes have occasionally been weird. Both Catchmans, and I paid the price kind of jumping too soon on them. Elites, Tedesco, Kinney, Walsh at fullback. I'm happy to see that. Moses Leo populating is pretty interesting. I don't know exactly who they're playing. The Bulldogs, it looks like. So yeah, if the Bulldogs get their tails up, I don't love Leo as a guy I'd heavily rely on. Probably more of a draft play. And I'm not going nuts over Moses Leo there. Jenkins drops out a gun into elite, which I think is fair. We need to see that left edge kind of hum again for him to kind of populate again, and why we haven't seen Casey for a while is that just hasn't been happening. Savala, I love there. Burton, the St. Burton's been awesome at centre. Best, Bostock's back. Bostock's typically been sniffing around that right centre gun spot, but based on his floor and his performances. The opportunity is certainly there this week for him. So I think, he's an easy start. In classic situations, if you've got him, I think you can go for him. But again, without Katoa, if you can wait one more week, Katoa will be back, and then I'd have far more confidence in Bostock hitting his maximal heights. Ramian, I don't love. Penasini, I do like. I think they play Tigers. I really like Penasini as a waiver or a pickup if he's available. This could be a good week for him against those Tigers. You can kind of go through these on socials. I won't spend too much. We'll get into the game by game. There's just a few not to rely on. Trent Talau, I wouldn't do much with. Mariota, I don't know the minutes, so I wouldn't do much with him. Twal, again, I've been fading him for a bit. Same as Terrell's dropped out a gun prop, and I think that's deservedly so. Haas is on the ascension there. Even Stefano's ascending and kind of populating in here, which he wasn't before, so that's pretty cool. Tamari Martin, I'm less enthused on. We're starting to see him kind of balance out a bit. It's the classic Tamari Martin story. Starts pretty hot when he gets a shot, and then kind of once he's in rhythm, it's pretty status quo. Again, I'm not blasting the guy. I'm just saying I'm not going nuts over him. If I have to move someone this week, I'm not afraid to move Tamari Martin in classic spheres, such as to get Jaden Campbell. I'd rather the upside of Jaden Campbell. I don't think we see Martin go 120 plus again anytime soon, and hey, he might against the Titans, but I think the Titans have got some confidence, and then they're a fit team. They've kind of developing an identity, and I don't think Martin comes in there and carves up. But it should be said that the Warriors, when they play the Titans, is a massive crowd. There's a lot of momentum. The drums are beating. It's a huge Kiwi population in southeast Queensland, so even though I just said that, maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I'm happy for the Warriors if Tamari Martin does go large, but I'm not kind of I'm happy to move him this week. These are the weaknesses. You can find them on socials. They're just pure weakness. So like the Knights have just not been able to defend fullback, so Reece's a real good one this week. So if you jumped on Reece last week like I did in Classic and Fantasy, this is one we need him to deliver on. But I think the Knights, they'll rally behind the loss of their guys. They've got Gagai back, Ponga back. I think it's going to do real well for the Knights. So I'm not so sure about what the Broncos can deliver. But Reece, I'm all in on just full send, brother. Game 1, we're just touching on the Tommy Talau. Don't over-index on Tommy Talau being a gun matchup, but everyone else I really like. And then for the Cows, I think playing at home does more for them than what the stats say. They're actually better than this. Burns kind of breaks through, but they've not been conceding much to right wing as the Roosters. So the Cows would have to be humming for Burns to go large, but the fact that he's favourable even with that is pretty impressive, which is why I've been big on Burns for the finals run home, which many of you will recall in my discussions about finals targets and stuff. Really like him. Haven't been able to get him because of trades, which is just a real pity. I'll remember that for next year, that when we prep for the finals run, I want those 10 trades in hand at round 2021 so I can really make some aggressive pod moves rather than be just holding trades to put out fires. It's not as fun. Better off tanking ranks during the buys, and I fought for ranks during the buys, which feels good until now, where I'm just kind of putting fires out rather than playing the way I want to play by getting guys like Burns and Sasagi last week. I got in one thing but couldn't get in another due to putting fires out and stuff like that. So I'm not doing much else with the Cows. You kind of know your Cows guys. Clifford, he lost the goal kicking, man. It's just heartbreaking. I traded for him on his finals matchups in draft, and it's looking like maybe a mistake-ish situation. So not sure about that. But green light your Roosters, even though it's away, and your Cowboys, you can rely on them at home. I truly believe that they'll break through this data set or the data gate here on avoids and stuff. The Roosters have their own sort of Jekyll and Hyde situation going on. They are defending a lot of these positions well, but not so much that I would avoid playing my Cowboys. Crazy cockatoo or whatever going nuts out there. Apologies if you can hear that. Going back to this mic just to mix it up this week, see how the quality is. Dolphins and George, you know the drill here. Your St. George pack is good. Their edges are still weak, and the Dolphins will be rested and should be fired up. Without Katoa, I always question it, but number 1 for Isaako, number 1 for Herbie, Bostock 3, Cobbo 4, that's just beautiful stuff. Expect even away a decent game from the Finns here. I think if they can just mix it with the middles of which is a question with Morgan Knowles. I don't love him there, but if they can mix it with these young Dragons forward pack, then I think their edges can shine. It's just whether they turn up from a discipline perspective, the Dolphins. Melbourne Canterbury, I don't love. Canterbury look decent, man. I don't love the data here for Melbourne being with a few greens and stuff like Stefano. I'm not worried about. Trent Talau, I'm not doing anything with. I'm not thinking about that. Keely and Clark, they might just be the type of players where they kind of rise above their matchup data, whereas all the blue is amazing for dogs. I'm starting all my dogs here. Blue, we love blue and green. We love blue and green. It's looking real good. Jethro Rinakama from a pickups perspective, he's got a bit of rest of season value in that left wing spot, I believe. You may note I have not touched on many waiver stuff like Nanai if he's available for sure. I forgot to mention Lockout Pacific Tonga as a prop in deep leagues. He's just got minutes risks around him. I actually don't love any of the Roosters stuff. I don't think there's a lot in that. I don't know if Smith's just resting. I don't. Tommy Talau, you can plug and play him, but I'm not going nuts over that. Most dudes are owned. If Cooper Clark for the Storm is available still, for sure as a FRF2, but I can't imagine he's available anymore. Same as Kickout, he'd be well owned, but Rinakama stands out, and Tuala would be owned by now. On the Storm side, I'm not overly interested. Obviously, wish he'd be owned by now. Oren Keely probably isn't owned. I think he's a waiverable guy. Just monitor the buy in finals. Classic wise, great cash out option. Just if he plays close to 80, and with Hughes there, we've seen what he can do. He's not flawless by any means, but where we're at in the season, I definitely don't mind him as a bit of a nice punt to go on there at right to RF. Again, not heaps on waivers here, but Chance has to be spoken about. Look, as a fullback option, the ceiling's somewhat limited. I actually much prefer him on the wing, but I think I did hear potentially just 1 to 2 weeks for Taine. I'm not burning a massive waiver on Chance you can, but just I can't sit here and heavily recommend Chance there just because I don't know what the runway is for the role. I don't know what the upside is for him. He's also an in-game injury risk. So, I'm not huge on Chance. I did mention quite a bit seeing CHT as a 5/8 option. He's actually been okay. I think he's been goal kicking. That's nice. He'd probably be relatively owned now. Anyone who needs a 5/8 will have that sorted. And we see Brimson come back with discussing 5/8s. I think Brimson has a bit about him. If this team's going to hum off the Jaden Campbell experience on the left edge, the Titans, then I think Brimson is a sneaky option in deep leagues if he is available. The coverage is nice in 5/8. There'll be some Blaize Talagi owners this week. He's been dropped back to the reserves and playing cup, I think. So Brimson, not the worst replacement there in your 5/8. Again, it's not super fun or exciting, but I'm personally okay with it going forward. There's not a lot else on this one. I did forget to touch on. So just got to check my waivers. You guys know the drill. Nat Butcher is still too lowly owned. I've been hammering his name, and I really hope people have benefited. Definitely a must-own guy, Nat Butcher. He's been all over the posts on socials because he should be owned, and I'd say people kind of know that. And him and Keely both performed quite well off a couple of weeks of me beating that drum. So definitely jump on him. This is one to talk about with Blaize Talagi, my boy, being dropped. Look, he hasn't been amazing. So, the year started well. He was performing his role. I thought his distribution was fine. It was above average. There's guys that are worse than him, believe it or not, at passing and running the plays and executing the shape that's required. During Origin, we saw glimpses of even more, and then we've seen a bit of a regression lately, Cleary's back, and that left edge hasn't quite hummed as people have come in and out of left centre there. Besides Talagi, I think IPAP has dipped a bit, both just effort, defence, and quality, and I think that's really hurt Talagi, and then obviously his defence has just been completely exposed. So, I'm okay as a bit of a fan of his and his talent. seeing him get dropped. This year I really thought he'd take a leap, and I drafted him accordingly, and it didn't really happen, unfortunately. The one thing I didn't expect was like a try scoring regression, but his nose for the ball has dipped a bit as he's chosen kind of to fulfill his role. Even more so, his ability to play off the cuff has been hindered, and I just think the speed and the acceleration hasn't been there. So that's disappointing, because I thought athletically he was trending in the right direction, and he hasn't been able to like leverage that athleticism to do much. I don't know whether it's just his build, or or gaining a bit of mass has slowed him down, or maybe it was never there to begin with, but that doesn't match my memory. So yeah, I'm cool with them dropping him for his confidence and just to get himself sorted either before finals or for the rest of the season. And he's clearly like good enough. We see enough from him that, you know, he's a future 5'8" in a team where his salary will never break the bank like a Luai's might. I think it's great. I think there's definitely talent there, and the effort and the commitments there. He plays hard, dude. He's just not a good tackler. He's not huge, and he's not been a 5'8" up the ranks, so his defensive like reads and stuff are questionable. So I get all that. I just realized I'm like also way blocking the matchup. Sorry, dudes. But yeah, you can just like see these on the socials. Yeah, so Talagi's been dropped, and Cogger has come in, and he's 5'8" halfback dual in Supercoach, and yeah, he can do a job for you, I suppose, but more than anything, I think it helps boost Casey Jenkins a little bit. Maybe IPAP, but not sure. Cogger, he's a bit of the Brad Schneider thing where he benefits from the ecosystem that he's useless on his own, but I think it is better for the Penrith left edge. So on that, if McLean owner is disgruntled by any means of the recent scores, which have been pretty abysmal, and just the performance, and maybe they need to win this week or something, yeah, I've got no issues trying to get a buy low on Casey. He could be a beneficiary next few weeks of Cogger coming in there. Again, it remains to be seen. Like when this left edge was humming, it was still Blaize Talagi running 5'8" on the left, so you know he contributed to what they were doing, and obviously things have changed. Defenses are shaping up and responding differently to what the left edge looks like in attack. So maybe his ability to like respond to that has not kind of up to speed with now the new like defensive look that they're facing. You know, in basketball you call like a defensive look. Yeah, maybe it's something to do with that. It's obviously more defense, and I just don't know about Cogger, but yeah, I mean, like in some leagues I'll probably have to trot him out there, and having a slice of Penrith never hurts as well in general. Whether he's a waiver or something, I would not be doing that. And anyone in halfback, no one in halfback's a waiver this week. Like Ashton Ward, Cogger, Sigwalt, they're all like free agency kind of plays for me, 100%. Sandon would be the only guy I'd waiver for because he has rest of season value and he's dual in hooker, which is amazing. So yeah, there's that. Oh, and Paddy's back to start, which is good, but I just don't know about the minutes. So he's just a real luxury type of sitch. Oh, and Paddy, I'd prefer him a freeze. He may already be owned. He is just, a luxury because those minutes could be 50 minutes, 40 minutes now. I don't think it goes that low, but yeah, like, I don't know, with the Starling deal, like they still won with Starling, noting it was against the Tigers, but yeah, just you'd really want to get a sider on Paddy, and therefore he's not a waiver necessarily, unless you just are that type of player, or your league, everyone waivers every week and you just waiver to get him, and then if it doesn't work out, then sort of so be it. That's fine too. Just double checking my list. Yeah, cool. I didn't really talk about the matchup, sorry. Yeah, Simi breaks through. He's playing on the right at that right edge. Yeah, it'd be a terrible week to trot Blaize out there, so I totally get the logic, and this team's humming. So, yeah, I think Simi will be fine. I think he's matchup proof. He's just a bustling runner. I don't think he relies on that. This stuff, like IPAP, Liam Martin, Isaiah, I'm not over-indexing on that. And Adam Mariota, I don't know what the minutes are there with Matty Nicholson. Matty Nicholson's a good luxury free agency stash. Adam Mariota is similar. Like, if he plays 80 again, that's crazy, and available at front row, we love that, but just don't know enough about it and what shape that takes for sort of me to recommend anything too heavily. Ethan Sanders, if he's available, perhaps he is a waiverable halfback. The ceiling's crazy if they're going to play like this. I think he's switched sides, and obviously he goal kicks, and yeah, he started okay, had a real big dip, and now I'm happy to say, like, if you're needy, for sure you can waiver for him. I think there's just a bit more to him. Just note the finals by if you're playing draft or head-to-head. Jenkins, yeah, totally starting. Jenkins still, yeah, all that. I spoke about Walsh with the opportunity just being nuts. That's really nice for him. Ponga, I'm playing him neutral. I don't care. I'm 100% Ponga. He's a VC option, captaincy option as well, like if you believe in him. What I don't love is the potential for him to get hurt during the game if he's been rushed back for that quad injury. That's something I don't like. You'd think they'd really be doing their due diligence after the guys they just lost so they wouldn't risk him. But yeah, just if you are looking to captain or vice captain Ponga, I think in draft you probably have to, but in like classic and salary cap formats, I would be hesitant to. Just there's a chance that quad or whatever it is pops up in the game, and that's a risk you wouldn't want to take at this point in the season when you could probably do like a VC Cleary, C Hynes, or like I'm thinking of VCing Drinky at home even in the matchup. Just think with the goal kicking, his ceiling's pretty crazy, so yeah, I don't mind that. Matt Croker as a front rower, I think, is a free agent. Like if you're really needy in the front row, I think just the minutes he could be serviceable. And then Francis Manuleleua and Jamayne McEwen, I think they're more free agents, but you could waiver for Francis. I think he looked really good. Like 3 clean line breaks now to his name that I've seen this season, maybe more. He's definitely a player. He's got that kind of like wide low build where he moves real quick. And Fletcher Sharp and Sandon Smith have had no issues putting their back rowers through holes this year. They're great distribution there. Something of what Holbrook does around halfway really works for the back rowers, and they come crushing onto the ball and break the line. And I want a bit of that if I'm in a deep league or if I'm needy and to fill a back row spot. He's a great start this week and just a great rotational platooned back rower where he just kind of comes in when you need him, much like Kitioni Katonga. Just guys that can do something are great. At this point in the season, if my Toref can offload for a line break assist, score a line break try, get a couple of offloads and tackle bust, yeah, I'm happy to take a 50 that has upside to be an 85. That's cool. And we saw with Francis, it can be 100 plus, which is really nice against not such a bad team in the Roosters. It's noteworthy for sure. And he played right and left and had line breaks right and left. There's something in that for sure. So yeah, Matt Croker and Francis. You know, Jamayne in really deeps, but not as confident on Jamayne, so I'm not going to go outright and say that. We're down to Cronulla and Souths. Cronulla just set and forget. Blayke Brailey, yeah, the matchup's quite intriguing. Nicho Hynes, yeah, obviously like the conceding isn't through the roof, but it's still pretty high, and I expect him to be decent because the platform is being laid for him by the forwards there with Brailey back, setting them on the right track. And when he's running like that, then it's all about his line break tries. If Nicho gets a line break try, he's going 100 plus, dude, and that's something that you just can gamble on as one of your captain or VC options, right? You just go like, this dude just needs to have a line break try, and that score is generally going 100 plus, and the team playing so well, he's kicking those goals and getting 20 odd points plus there. So what I'm saying is, if they play well, he either scores 60, 80, whatever. If he plays well and they play well, it's 120 plus. It's really special what he's doing. And I'm frankly a bit surprised because we saw some real quiet moments from him last year and his average reflected that. But maybe Brailey at the controls has really stepped up in what the forwards are doing, and then Brayley's having more of a say in whether Trindle or Hynes gets it from the ruck. I don't know. I truly don't know, but there's something about, yeah, what's going on there that's pretty cool. Souths wise, you just play the guys that have been solid, like Sharks. Yeah, it's pretty scary at home as well. At 2 p.m, I'd be my fringe Sharks guys, my fringe Rabbit guys. I'd be trying to avoid playing, generally speaking. But while they've got Cody Walker there, they can still score points. Campbell Graham probably needs to be mentioned now. He's probably owned in a lot of leagues, but I just think the favourable matchup's good for him, and in general, they've got some matchups coming up I'd like a little slice of. And obviously, you can still buy low on David Fifita and Tallis Duncan this week in draft, like just for that finals there. It's your last chance to grab them, so definitely consider doing that. Britton Nickera and Teague Wilton, if they're still out there, there's enough in this attack for them to be serviceable in draft as well. Will Penasini, I mentioned, has the elite matchup. It's a really juicy one too, isn't it? Jesus. Definitely thought there'd be more coloration here, more blue, more gold, more green, but given Para have struggled to like really do much themselves, they can't quite rank there. But number 2 for Penasini, number 3 for Kitioni Katonga. I really like that. That's left and right, which is good. Ronald and Mitch Moses as well in the top 10. Doueihi, I'm not really worried about because there's more minutes related with him, and props I don't really care about. But Samuela Finus, that's nice. Talau, not too worried about. So there's a little bit in both of these. But dude, Wests are a basket case, so I'm just not really sure what to recommend there, and I don't want to like make you commit either way. So that's sort of the matchups discussed. I've tried to touch on the guys not to rely on, and then just for our waiver wire and free agency summary, it's at hooker, Paddy Sandon, Sonny Luke as a plug, which I don't love, but you can do it if you're really desperate. Front row, Clark, Croker, Mariota, Pacifici, Tonga. The last 2 come with a lot of risk. In 2RF, it's Francis, Butcher, Keely, Nanai again. There may be even another name or 2 in 2RF I've missed. Halfback, Ward, Cogger, Sigwalt. 5'8", Cogger, Sandon, Brimson, CT Dub, Graham, Rinakama, Brimson, probably even... Who is the Dragons? Yeah, I don't love Sloan this week. I liked him last week, recommended him to someone, and it got them the win. I felt really good about that. That's me doing my job for you. And then fullback, Sigwalt, CNK, Duncan in the reserves for Sigwalt, don't love, and Tane, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, don't love either. So, yeah, fullback is grim if you didn't have backup and you lost your guys. You can do Gutho, I guess. I don't know about this week. He doesn't come up here. Like Kennedy, he'd be owned. Tracy, you can do it on this weakness option here as well. But yeah, fullback, man, tough look if you really have nothing there. Penasini, yeah, huge weakness. Ramian, Semrani, anyone playing the West, dude, yeah. I think that's it, guys. I always forget if there's something I wanted to mention, but if you like the video, if you want to support me and keep having me pump out this content for you guys that's unique and relatively neutral, give the video a like. A comment also goes a long way if you're feeling generous. What else do we want to talk about? Finals outlook stuff on the Draft Oracle website. That is still updating every week, so you can just do your power rankings. We probably should quickly touch on these actually before I go. I know the video is getting a little long. I like to keep it under 35, but this is a bit to discuss today. But yeah, the power rankings are updated. We've got guys like Billy Smith. Remember, he's just maybe resting or hurt. I don't think he's been dropped, so just obviously grain of salt. But like Jenkins, Talau was good on the weekend. Sigwald's here, but that could be considered Talis Duncan when he comes back. Ero's sniffing about. We've got Herbie. Casey's falling but fighting. Toya's again at the top. Bostock's sniffing around. Ramian's entered the fray. You can trade for Ruben Garrick if he's on bye. There's a lot of options here. Tawala entering the fray. Rinakama entering the fray as the Bulldogs start scoring some points. Their matchups are tough though, so double check that on the run home. But this is factored into the power rankings here. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Hamish Stewart, top left to RF. Happy days as an owner. Kitioni Katonga is there. My boy, he's rolling. Britton Nickera, I did mention, not been great himself, but trending in the right direction and has crazy opportunity score of 68. That is nuts. Interesting to not see Teague on there, so that's funny. Hynes at the top. What would like? It's not really a surprise, is it? Sam Walker, Jaden Campbell, I just traded for back in Classic. I'm just going to bite the bullet and bring him back in based on something like this. I did mention Tamare, who I'm sort of like soft fading, not going nuts over it, but half fading. He's here though. The opportunity for him is still legit though, whilst ever he's in and around there. Wish he was goal kicking, but he's not. So yeah, anyway, check out the final stuff. You've got matchups for the week. You've got the scoring map I mentioned. This is like pure weakness as well. And then if you're in the Oracle portal, you can obviously go through here and like look at who's benefiting directly from different weaknesses. So it's pure weakness, pure season weakness, all that sort of good stuff. So yeah, if you like this, just give it a like. Remember, there's a podcast version available too, I should shout out. And follow me on Instagram if you like those deep dive posts that I've been doing, and I'll keep doing those for you guys. But yeah, best of luck with your waiver and pickups, and any comments, any questions about your team trades, just chuck them down below, and I'm more than happy to share my thoughts. Cheers.